Drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, man.
It is picked up by the Lions. Coming back right side, 25. Picks up a block at the 30. It's at the 40.
Drink it in, drink it in. Drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, man.
Rolls to the right. Stafford throws deep. Got a man out there. Enzo. Caught. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Marvin Jones. Stafford!
Drink it in, drink it in.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Cornbread.
Drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, man.
Detroit Koolaid drinkers, what is going on? This is your host, Derek Oakrey. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Detroit Koolaid Cast, coming to you here on a Wednesday. The season is over. We'll give a quick recap of that, but stay with us here on this episode. I'm doing a solo show today, and I thought I'd just talk about the main topics everybody wants to hear about, and that's the rumor and innuendo that's going on with the GM, the head coach search. We're going to talk about the first guy we should talk about and the last guy we should talk about, and that's Matt Stafford. Do a multi-layered talk about him and what's going on there. And then let's finish out the show with my favorite topic, the NFL draft. Give you guys some names, some positions of need. I've been doing some mock drafts on Twitter at Derek Oakrey. That's spelled DEREK OKRIE. You could check those out. And like I said, give me a comment. Tell me what you like, what you don't like. Guys you're targeting, people you're interested in. Really fun to have that back and forth, and love seeing who people are thinking about and what picks they like, which ones they don't. So we'll get into that here at the end of the show. But yeah, let's just get this thing rolling. Let's talk about some rumor and innuendo. Lots going on with the Detroit Lions when it comes to the search. Well, before we get to that, let's just talk quickly about this game against the Minnesota Vikings at the end of the year. I'm not going to give you a whole recap. I mean, you guys saw it. I tweeted it out before the game. Hey, it'd be cool to see Stafford, Hawkinson, Marv Jones, Swift, those type of guys play good on offense. I've given up a long time ago, hoping that this defense would come together. So, we all knew what was going to happen there on defense. And pretty much that's what we got in this ball game. I mean, Matt Stafford played well. Marvin Jones had a huge game. Swift showed a few flashes, got in the end zone again. Hawkinson had a few catches, stayed healthy. I mean, in a weird way, it was kind of like everything you wanted from that final game where they played well. It was kind of back and forth. And they came up short, which kind of preserved the draft pick. Now, I know winning, gives you that good feeling going in the offseason, or, it would have made some fans happy, but it's just not the smart move at that point based on what's on the line and where this team was at that point, or where they're headed type of thing. They really need, the highest pick to get this thing moving back in the right direction. And so, like I said, it was all pretty good, except for the NFL referees. I mean, Grifka comes on this show all the time and talks about that the NFL doesn't like the Lions, and man, every game you have these calls because they don't care about the Lions, and all these conspiracy theories. I'm not going to go to the conspiracy music for this one, but what I will go to is a rant about that play, 4th and 1 from the 1-yard line. Tracy Walker comes untouched, and all he does is tackle the quarterback. It's called tackle football, everybody. He literally just kind of tackled him to the ground. Both their momentums took them to the ground. He moved off the quarterback. He did not taunt. He did not grab a face mask. He did not do anything. He ran off the field. And this referee wants to throw a penalty flag. It was visually the worst penalty call that I've seen in a football game that I can remember. I mean, this beats the horrible calls in Green Bay. This beats the, I thought his knee was down, the Jim Schwartz flag. I mean, this beats all that because it's just so egregious. I mean, it's literally just an NFL football tackle. and this guy's going to claim you dropped your weight on the guy, and then he's going to say after the game it's a clear foul, and then he's going to say that he definitely got it right. It was no doubt in his mind. Like, what are these guys watching? I mean, there's so many calls when I watch a game where I'm just like, really? That's what you're calling? That's what you saw? Because everybody else can see otherwise. I mean, there's not one person that's defending this roughing the passer call, saying, oh no, like he definitely dropped his weight, or that definitely was more than he should have done on that play. He simply tackled the quarterback. It was a blitzing safety that what's he, 6'2", like 215, Tracy Walker. I mean, this is not the reason the dropping the weight or putting your whole weight on a quarterback was just so like a 300-pounder doesn't lift you up in a spine buster position and just drop you into the ground. That's why it's there. It's not for a random, just basic tackle that you want to just make up the rules. And these refs, the reason they do this is because they want to pretend they're so smart. Like, oh man, I read every rule in the rule book. Watch me go out on Sundays and throw flags and make these calls. Like, and the rule book isn't there to have you dissect it to a T and to call every little minute thing. Those rules are there for the egregious calls, for the things that alter ball games, for things that are common sense. We're not trying to dig into page 382, rule G, article F, line 4, and read it off verbatim so that you can like pat yourself on the back at the end of the ball game. Absolutely horrible. I'm not going to spend any more time on it, but also the Marvin Jones call. Everybody that watches that with a brain, watches it in slow motion, watches it in high def, is just sitting there going, that's a football catch. I mean, he caught the ball. He went to the ground. Yes, his arm, elbow, whatever you want to call it, hit the ground with the ball in it. The ball moved up to his chest, and he secured it there. It never touched the ground. It never jostled around. It's never like he didn't have control of this football. And you're just taking points off the board for no reason. I mean, between them going under the hood and seeing this stuff in slow-mo and just making up crap that happens, even though you're supposed to stay with what was on the field, which is a touchdown. And this is what they do against the Lions. They flip all these calls where they called it a touchdown. There was no indisputable evidence. You never physically saw the point of the ball or any point of the ball bounce off the ground. Yet here the ref makes it up in his head. Oh, I think it hit the ground and bounced up to his chest, so I'm going to call it incomplete and reverse the call. Yet on every other call in the NFL with every other football team, these spineless referees have no guts whatsoever. You could go under the hood and blatantly see something, but they're going to come out and do the wimpiest thing in the world, which is called the ruling on the field stands. Again, why do we have replay if 90 to 95% of the calls seem to just go with stands? Why are you going to go watch it for 10 minutes and waste everybody's time if you're just going to say stands? Why are you going to say stands 90% of the time, yet against the Detroit Lions you're going to assume, well, I think the ball hit the ground. I mean, let's go reverse it, take a touchdown, take a 40-yard plus play off the board from Matt Stafford and Marvin Jones, because you think it might have hit the ground. You didn't see that for sure. Nobody at home saw that for sure. And this continually happens. So these referees have no clue what they're doing. It's just an embarrassment, especially for Detroit Lions games. And I speak for me, all the Detroit Koolaid drinkers, all the Detroit Lions fans, and all the people of Michigan, when I say we're sick of it. We're sick of getting shortchanged. We're sick of seeing this. We're tired of people being like, it doesn't matter. It's just the Lions, whatever. Like, could you imagine if there was something on the line in this game when these calls were made? Ridiculous. All right, so I meant to spend a couple minutes on that. I went a little bit longer, but I had to get that rant out of my system. All right, let's get back to rumor and innuendo. Coaches and GM. Big news came out on, what was it, Sunday morning when I was waking up. Good Morning Football, the rap sheet. Adam Schefter, whoever you want to go to for your news, put out there. The Lions are strongly pursuing John Schneider, GM of the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, this caught me by surprise. It was also good to see because John Schneider is well-established His draft record pretty much speaks for itself, even though I usually hate their drafts because it's usually people off the board, reaches, but they're always like scheme fits, and they always end up being pretty good football players. But like I said, this guy's proven. I mean, Seattle has really put that whole organization back together. They're pretty much a consistent winner where they win 12 games this year again. You're pretty much going after one of the best in the game, which you got to love to see if you're a Lions fan. And I don't know if it'll happen, but John Schneider, to me, you can say this is, not what you want to hear, not what matters. But when I look at John Schneider, when it comes to his personality, the way he does business, also the kind of guy he looks like on the surface. I mean, he looks like a guy you want as your general manager. I mean, what's he always wearing the nice button downs? He's got the vest on, the North Face vest, whatever he's rocking these days. He's got the beard going. He just, every time I hear him talk, I'm like, man, this is just a good football guy. He knows the game. He's well respected. He knows how to kind of hobnob with all the other GMs. He knows how to wheel and deal, make some trades. He moves up and down all around, usually down the draft board, which is something Bob Quinn never did, which is he's just moving up for people or taking people that turn out to be bums. And John Schneider I remember one year, I think he moved down, 4 or 5 times in the first couple rounds. The guy never picked. He just kept moving down, collecting assets, collecting picks. And then when he did make picks, these guys end up being good football players. So, I mean, I would love to see John Schneider. I don't know if it's going to happen, but at least the Lions are poking around there and going after somebody that is, one of the top GMs in the game. Another rumor that came out, I mean, this was talked about, and then I heard it was kind of pushed to the side. Now it's kind of resurfacing again. Kevin Colbert, the GM over there in Pittsburgh, used to be with the Lions, has been over there with Pittsburgh for quite a while now. I want to say 10 years or so, maybe longer. And he has been the GM, I think, the past 7+ years, I want to say. And, I mean, just look at what they bring in, both trades, free agents, draft picks. Keeping that core team together, always having that rough, tough type defense. Kevin Colbert can find himself some receivers now. I mean, this guy just plucks receivers out of the 2nd to the 5th round like it's gold. You're talking AB, you're talking Juju, you're talking Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. I mean, I could probably go on, but between that and him finding rush ends, linebackers, I mean, the guy's really putting it together. So, I mean, this seems like a long shot. Like, why would he leave Pittsburgh? But last thing I checked in on is, he doesn't have a contract moving forward. So, I mean, unless the Pittsburgh Steelers stepped up to the plate, and sounds like they like to go year to year or a couple years at a time, I mean, the Lions would give this guy the keys to the city, just to come in here and bring this team back to where it was when he left, I think, in the late 90s, 2000s. And, gosh, he lives in Pittsburgh, I think. So there's that. There's other ties, which people are like, why would he want to come here? Hey, maybe he just, when he left here, he go do his thing. He's made his money. He's won championships, done this, and he wants to come back here and get the Lions right. I don't know. But Kevin Colbert would be great as well. A little rumor innuendo that I want to debunk. I saw this on Twitter over the weekend, and my reaction was, no! Jim Harbaugh to the Detroit Lions as the head coach. No. Like, if Jim Harbaugh wants to return to Michigan at a lower cost and wants to get that together and still try to win for his alma mater, I mean, I'm okay with it. I'm not excited really about it based on what I've seen from him in the past few years in regards to his players really not, reaching their full potential. Doesn't feel like. I see no emotion on the sideline. I see no ability to outthink or out-strategic, the other team like he did when his first NFL run, where he was coming up with run concepts and being able to just kind of, seem to be a great quarterback guy and a great offensive guy. And I see neither of those really at this point in the game. I also think Jim Harbaugh is a really tough personality, both for the media as well as just for, fans and people in general. He likes to give these horrible press conferences. He likes to act very odd. I mean, we just don't need that right now with the Lions. It feels like we went that route sort of with Patricia and Quinn. Here's something I want to throw at people. If you guys want to go check out, go to YouTube and see if you can find a couple of the mic'd up segments with Matt Patricia at the Senior Bowl. Now I know that I lauded that as, oh man, look at this is our coach. He was going around hollering at people, working one-on-one with players, had that mojo, that alpha type mentality. But there's one segment, if you go find it, where he's sitting there and he kind of yells at Bob Quinn, like, hey Bob Quinn, like, go, the senior director at Senior Bowl, like, he didn't do this for me, and now his guy won't talk to me. And I went up to him, was like, well, you're not gonna be a man about it, and we gotta get that fixed or whatever. And he kind of put it on Bob Quinn. He's sort of throwing the whole Senior Bowl staff under the bus, or had some big issue. And I remember kind of getting fired up about it, because I was just saying he was just trying to get stuff right for practice, or wanted a situation handled. But you go back and you look at it, it's probably like a lot of that pointing fingers, and a lot of the, you didn't do it my way, and we're gonna keep everything under wraps, which kind of, probably was one of the big issues with the Lions. So you don't need a Jim Harbaugh, which tries to keep everything under wraps, or doesn't want to give anything up, or doesn't want to talk to anybody, and just kind of a weirdo. You need a guy that's going to galvanize, like, the front office, the coaching staff, the players, be able to win ball games first and foremost, but also be able to be somebody where free agents want to come here. People know they're going to be shot straight. You're going to be rewarded. If you play well, you're going to get the boot. If you play horrible, that type of setup here is kind of what we need. Jim Harbaugh doesn't fit that, but this next guy does. The big rumor, the big name that everybody wants is Robert Saleh from the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator. And to me, I mean, Saleh was quoted, I think, by the head coach, Kyle Shanahan over there, of saying Robert Saleh is such a great coach. He's such a great communicator. Everybody loves him. If somebody doesn't give him a head coaching job, they'd be fools, and he'd be happy to have him back, but he doesn't know why anybody wouldn't snap this guy up. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but to me, those were great things to hear, especially the communication part. I mean, Saleh already looks like a football coach from the build. He's not some wimpy, little offensive coordinator. He's a big dude. He's excitable. He's smart, obviously. He's put together good defenses. He hasn't got a shot yet. Here it is, everybody. Sound the alarms. He's from Dearborn. He knows what the fans have went through here. I think he could kind of connect with the city, the state, the team, the frustrations we went through, and kind of get that right if he's paired up with the right GM, John Schneider, and just the right coordinators. All that's going to have to come together. But I think they're meeting with Salah. You guys be hearing this show on Wednesday morning. I think the interview is Thursday. And the Lions have already done a lot of their other due diligence with bringing people in and talking to people. So if Salah just blows them away, I don't know why you wouldn't move forward maybe with the head coach, knowing that you maybe have either a shot at Schneider, Dodds, or any of these guys that have kind of worked with him in the past, or maybe have some connections there. So lots going on, lots being talked about. But I'm telling you, man, if Schneider, Colbert, or Dimitrov would be the GM, I'd be excited about that. And Salah seems to be everybody's, head coaching number one. He seems to get great reviews from his people. His track record doesn't lie when it comes to defense and being a leader of men and a communicator, and that's what the Lions are looking for. So, I'm really excited about it. We'll see what happens, but yeah, had to debunk some of that and get you guys hyped for some of that as well. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and get my sponsorship in here. Again, we're kind of just doing this real quick sponsor, not some of the other ads we've done in the past, just to promote my BLEAV, Believe in Lions podcast with Lions legendary safety Benny Blades. That drops Thursday morning. Me and Benny have a lot of fun on the show, as well as you got to hear this guy's insight, man. He's a very intense, great player for this team, as well as the guy that he's all football. He's just no nonsense football guy, was on the field, is now on the podcast. Great guy to listen to. So I want you guys to take a quick listen to that. Please check that out. Please hit that subscribe button, share that with a friend. It's a great show. It's growing. Really enjoy it, as well as enjoy the Koolaid Cast here that we do twice a week. So when I come back, I'm going to dive into Matt Stafford. I got 4 or 5 main topics I want to talk about with him. And we're ending this with some draft talk. So everybody, we'll be right back. What's going on, everybody? This is your host, Derek Oakrey of the Detroit Koolaid Cast. And this is normally where I tell you about some of our great sponsors. But today, I want to tell you about my other Lions podcast. It's called Believe in Lions, and that's spelled BLEAV on the Believe Podcasting Network, with both myself and Lions legendary safety Benny Blades. Yeah, you know who he is, the hard-hitting safety Benny Blades. Played for the Lions. He also played for the U. You know what it is, the University of Miami, those Miami Hurricanes. He mentions it multiple times a show. Benny loves to talk about his Hurricanes, his Lions, and I love to play this soundbite on the show. We have a ton of fun on that show. We laugh, we joke, we talk Lions. Like I said, he brings up the Hurricanes. I talk about my Michigan Wolverines. It's a really fun show. Benny loves the Lions. He tells great stories from his playing days, as well as we're just rooting on this team. We BLEAV in the Lions. So please go ahead, find it on your favorite podcast platform. Hit that subscribe button and check it out. Share it with a friend. We really appreciate it. So check out Believe, BLEAV in Lions, with myself and Benny Blades. Thank you guys so much. What's going on, Detroit Kool-Aid drinkers? Thank you guys so much for listening to that sponsorship. Please check out Believe in Lions. That's spelled BLEAV on the Believe Podcasting Network, with myself and Benny Blades. And appreciate you listening. I had a little rant in the beginning of the show. I had to talk about the rumors that are swirling with the Lions. I'm hoping in the next week or two we're going to get an answer of who the GM, the head coach are. We could start moving this thing forward when it comes to that roster and then the draft and everything like that. But I thought we'd just take a little bit of a dive into the quarterback of the Detroit Lions, the number one player right now, the most important piece on this team, both if he stays on the team or if they were to move him for other assets. So let's talk about Matt Stafford here for a bit. I got a few main points. We'll kind of go through these decently quickly, but like I say, everybody's wondering, might as well talk about him. So let's talk about his play. I mean, one thing that's really surprised me over the last little bit is this divide that happens with Matt Stafford, both here in Michigan and, across the NFL and the country. To be honest, people seem to love Matt Stafford because he's that guy that never says anything wrong, never does anything wrong. People see the highlights of him throwing the ball around the yard or throwing a bunch of touchdowns or whatnot. Yet here in Michigan, we're kind of like, yeah, man, he throws a good football. He's able to, put it on people. He shows up pretty well when he's healthy and ready to go. But we all know here that he hadn't really had a big year since 2011-ish. He had 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns, and since then, I bet you he's been sort of in the middle of the league. People want to call him an elite player, a top quarterback. I mean, the numbers don't justify that. The wins don't justify that. The play on the field for what he's had around him has been, above average, but there's definitely those times, the pick six on Turkey Day that cost us a game, I want to say in Chicago, and then, other turnovers he has that just kind of have you scratching your head and going, man, I can't believe a veteran QB would do that makes the type of plays that he does at other games. So, in my opinion, Matt Stafford is good to above average, but in the words of Grifka, I mean, come on, people. He ain't that great. He ain't elite. He ain't up there with the top 5. He isn't up there with the top 8. He's in that top 10 to top 12 type category on a good day. On a bad day, he's in the middle of the pack. And then on a really good day, you can get up in that tops 8, 6 type category. I mean, there isn't a day this season where he was up there with the Mahomes. He's up there with, the type of things that top QBs are doing, the Rodgers, the Brady. No. He hasn't been there, and he hasn't been there for a long time. So we pretty much know what he is when it comes to play. Now let's talk about pay, because that's the other thing that really makes it important with Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford has made a boatload of money in Detroit. He came in right when the rookie thing was still crazy, so he got paid initially as a rookie. Then he got paid again. Then he got paid again. I mean, this guy's made over $100+ million here with the Detroit Lions. And looking at his contract, he's got 2 more full years on it. And yeah, the base numbers, the signing bonus, make it a decent yearly amount. He's probably in the top 15 when it comes to yearly amount. So he's not up there at the top anymore, which people flip their lid about. But here's something really interesting that I want you guys to listen to that Sean Baligian brought up on Twitter when I kind of asked him about Stafford. He said, if anything happened, it'd be after June 1. And I'll give Sean Baligian, he's always been a really good guy on the radio that I like listen to. I'd love to chat with him someday. He's just a great football guy, no nonsense, knows his stuff. Go check him out on Woodward Sports. They just started putting out podcasts, him and Joyke Bell doing a show. You got to check that out. I think you can find it on YouTube or maybe your podcast platform. I'm not sure. But they're doing cool things over there. So Shawnee B is a great dude. I give him a plug there. And what I want to give him credit for is, so when I went and I looked this up, you start looking at these numbers, and they're very intriguing. So let's say they trade Matt Stafford before. Let's start with the release. If they release Matt Stafford before June 1st. So they just like, hey, we're moving on. Nobody will trade for him. We just want to get rid of him because we're going to go in a different direction. That's going to be where the $40 million of dead cap is going to come in. You're going to get a cap savings of minus $19 million. So nobody's doing that. So Matt Stafford's not getting released pre-June 1. That's for damn sure. Now, if you trade him before June 1st, that's where a lot of people get that number of you're going to have a dead cap of $32.5 million on the Lions cap, and you're going to get a savings still of negative 11. So that's not doing you any good either. So no trades of Matt Stafford happening before the NFL draft when you look at those numbers, which my opinion to Shawnee B right away was like, man, let's try to trade him before the draft, get some assets. We've heard about go to Dallas, go to Indy, some of these teams where maybe you could get their pick and start moving the team forward that way. Well, those dollars and cents just don't add up. So I don't see it happening. The draft's at the end of April. You're not going to want to make that deal before June 1st. Post June 1st release, still kind of crazy numbers. I mean, you're going to get a $21 million cap hit, or dead cap, and then in 2021 you're going to be a dead cap of 19. So all you're doing is basically spreading that 32 or $40 million over 2 years, and you're not getting any cap savings at that point. So you're just not going to release him, period. And why would you do that? Because you can't find a trade partner, and we can definitely run him out another year or two and run out the contract. That's not a problem as long as he's willing to play here. But then you get into this post June 1st trade. So let's say they went through the draft, they may pick up a young quarterback, or they don't, and they start building their team, and then all of a sudden somebody comes calling at June 1st and being like, hey, we'll give you a 2022 draft pick, first rounder, maybe a third rounder, and maybe even they throw in a player. Like, I don't know if it was to Dallas. Can we get Michael Gallup to kind of add to our receiving core? I mean, now we're talking some reasonable numbers. Like, now that's only going to be a $13.5 million dead cap in 2020. You are going to have $19 million in 2021, but that's okay. You can spread it over those 2 years at that point, and you're going to save upwards to $8 million at that point. So, I don't see a lot of those big time deals happening past June 1, because at that point, like next, in July and August, you're heading towards training camp and things like that. So I don't know that it's as realistic, but when you break down the numbers, a post June 1 trade is really the only one that makes sense. You're not releasing him, you're not trading him before the draft, unless you're just dead set of, hey, cap hit. I mean, these people that say the cap hit's no big deal. I mean, the cap hit's no big deal if you just want to be horrible for the next 3 years, and then I'll catch you in like 2024, and maybe we'll either have a good team or start to really build up at that point. You can't have $40+ million in dead cap and build a football team. You just can't do it. So we don't even know where the cap's going to be next year either yet. So it's just, I just don't see that happening. You're just eating it no matter what anybody offers you. But could a June 1 maybe happen? Maybe. I still don't see it happening. I see Matt Stafford sort of being here. I'm going to get to that at the end of sort of what I think his future is and what I would do versus what others would do. So, let's just keep rumbling through another couple things with him. I mean, the injuries, I went on a big rant a couple weeks ago, kind of for entertainment purposes on the show and because I was just kind of frustrated with everybody calling him like the baddest man on the planet and the toughest quarterback of all time, all this type of stuff. I mean, Matt Stafford had horrible shoulder and arm issues, collarbone, whatever, when he first started in the league. Those are bad injuries for quarterback. And his back injuries are no joke based on what we know. People want to say he had a broken back, allegedly. I mean, I really don't know how bad those were, but obviously they were debilitating enough to keep him out for basically a half season and some other time that he's missed due to these back issues. So, I mean, those are two major injuries, but his other stuff that he warriors through and shows up, I mean, we're talking like fractured finger, sprained ankle, what else did he have? He had like shoulder tightness or neck something, like all these things that everybody kind of battles through. And I think the quarterbacks just get way too much love because when they get blown up, everybody's like, oh my gosh. But like, what about every other play where they can't even get touched, of the way the NFL is set up nowadays? So, I mean, I couldn't do it, you know what I mean? Most people out there couldn't do it, but I'm just saying that, like, for an NFL position, you're not banging heads every play. You're not fighting through things like these other guys do. Hey, just put a cast on my hand and I'll go out there and play. I mean, Stafford's out there playing with a tweaked ankle or a sore. I mean, what does he have now? He's got the finger, he's got the ankle, and he's had the back or the concussion. You get a knee to the helmet. I mean, we get it. That happens. I mean, those are what I deem somewhat minor, and you fight through. Congratulations. But if you don't, I mean, it wouldn't be the biggest thing, too, if you missed a few games. The problem with me is that he continually gets hurt every time he gets touched, or he babies when he gets hurt, like Tayshaun Prince used to do, where he'd be like dead one moment and the next moment he's good to go, no problem. It's kind of like, what is it, man? Like, I don't know. So my take on him now is, I mean, he's a tough-minded guy. I think he gets a little too much love for some of the things he battles through. And then, yeah, I'm not debunking the fact that he had bad shoulder and collarbone and back issues. Those are legit. Those will put you out. I don't expect you to play through. I don't expect you to soldier on in those situations. But some of these other ones, hey, man, okay, you got a little thumb ligament issue, but everybody else got something too. Now, where he is super tough is mentally. The guy wants to play. He wants to be out there. He says everything right. He wants to be out there with his teammates. Hey, I respect it. I respect that part of it, no doubt about it, because we expect you to be out there too. You're making $30-some million a year. We don't expect your thumb, your ankle, a little shoulder tightness, a little concussion 4 weeks ago to keep you out extended period. We want you out there playing quarterback to help our football team. And he seems to have that mentality too. If he wants to be out there, he wants to play. All that stuff is all fine and well. When you look at Matt Stafford's history, I mean, the people that battle for him are always like, man, he's the best quarterback we ever had, and he can do no wrong, and it's everybody else's fault. And the people that don't like him or are ready to move on are like, yo, 12 years, no playoff wins, no big games, no division titles. All these stats, which we all know, yeah, he's put up good stats for his career, and we also know a lot of those stats have come in very meaningless games when the Lions are 4 or 5 wins at the end of the year, or down in the fourth quarter, and he's slinging the ball all around the field. Great. How about you do that in that big, Thursday night or Thursday Turkey Day game when the division lead is on the line? How about you do that on the road in Lambeau? How about you do that at the end of the year when all we needed was one win in 3-4 games and we couldn't get it? We lost them all. Like, where you at then? So my history with Matt Stafford is the numbers really don't mean much, if anything, to me. They're great. Hey, look at him later. Wow, he threw for his fastest to however many yards. Great. How many playoff wins you get me? How many Super Bowls did you get me? Oh, that's not a quarterback stat. Well, it kind of is, because these guys get credit for that like nobody else because they touch the ball every play. He's the leader of the team. He's made $100 million, and he's the ultimate leader. So, yeah, Jordan gets credit for it in basketball. Matt Stafford gets no credit for it in football because, he hasn't been able to get this team over the hump. Bottom line, that's the history. That's the facts. The numbers are there. The numbers aren't elite. I mean, the numbers are compounded because some of the situations he's been in, the seasons he's had. If he was doing that and we were putting up 10 wins a year, you wouldn't hear this from me. Be like, man, he's balling. They're winning. They just couldn't get the Super Bowl. Hey, I wouldn't have a huge issue because I know only one team wins the Super Bowl every year. But you go out and put a bunch of numbers, and I look at the records, and it's 6 wins, 4 wins, 2 wins, 6 wins, 8 wins, 10 wins, back down to 6, 5. You know what I mean? That type of stuff. It's like, no, the numbers don't mean as much at that point. You definitely get docked for that when it's history. So he's gotta get those big time game wins. He's got to get the division. He's got to get them to the playoffs. And yeah, you need help, but you're the ultimate guy, man, both on offense and making up for the defense because, we're not paying defensive players 20 plus million on this team. We're playing the quarterback, and that's where it falls. I mean, straight up, the community and with his teammates, great guy. I mean, everything you hear and see. I know he's blown me and Grifka off a few times at training camp. He doesn't seem to have time really for the fans to come over unless you're in the VIP tent. But, I mean, other than that, I mean, you'd hope if you'd catch him, down the street or somewhere, he'd be cool to you. I don't know, but he seems like a great dude. Leader for his teammates when we hear in the public or behind the scenes. I'm sure he's a good leader, respected guy. I'm also pretty sure he's kind of a passive aggressive guy where it's like Matt Stafford ain't gonna swear you up and down and call you this, that, and the other and get you to play your best. He's gonna be that guy that just kind of encourages you, and when you screw up, hey, we'll get them next time, and hey, it's on me too, it was my fault, or I make mistakes so you can make mistakes, that what I mean? Rather than like, no, I'm great at quarterback, you need to catch every ball at receiver, like, or I'm going to be in your ass, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'd like to see from him. But I think his teammates like him because he doesn't throw him under the bus, doesn't say anything, shows up, works hard, is at practice, fights through, plays on Sunday, all that type of stuff. And that's commendable, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's done a lot for the city of Detroit. He's built like I don't even know what it is. There's some, rec center, school, whatever it may be. I should know more about it, but I don't. I mean, put millions of dollars into that. That's awesome. He also does the Christmas stuff where he shows up, gives gifts to kids and families. That's tremendous. Sure, he does a bunch of other stuff that I don't know about and he doesn't want any to know about. That's incredible. Matt Stafford is the type of guy you want on the cups, the posters, you want in the community, you want as that face of your franchise, but you have to win. You have to win at a high level, and then that becomes even better that you do all that stuff, and it becomes even better that you don't have to say anything about it. You just win. You still do all these great things in the community. You're still a tremendous guy. You can still throw it all over the yard, 80 yards down the field with your howitzer for an arm. All that stuff's even better when you put up W's, and people are just getting frustrated because it's year after year of not enough W's, not enough big game winning, not enough vocal leadership out in the in the podium that we see. That's the frustration. So when you're talking about the future, when it comes to Matt Stafford, this is where I'm at with it. I got to the point this year where I acknowledge his talent. I acknowledge the fact that the guy is a good NFL quarterback. Like I talked about, his toughness comes. He wants to be out there. He is out there a lot. He has had some major injuries. He's also had some minor ones that have been frustrating. But I reached a point this year where I just felt like I know what this guy is. If he comes back next year, he's going to throw for between 3,000 and 4,000 yards. He isn't going to be up there in the 35 to 45, 50 touchdowns. He's going to be in the low to mid 20s and 30s at best. He's going to turn the football over when you don't need him to and just give you the aw shucks, I'll get him next time. He's going to make some great plays where he's slinging it sidearm, down the field, whatever it may be. And you're going to be like, oh, number 9, this is our quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, we've done that. I've done that song and dance now for 10, 11, 12 years. I know what this guy is. I know that he can go somewhere else that has pieces. Denver, Indy, Dallas, and go win because they have weapons. He's a good quarterback. He'd have a better system around him maybe, and he might win at a high level. Go ahead. I've reached a point where I'm fine to the regime, new coach, new GM. I'm fine to just move on and figure this quarterback out. And that it means trade him after June 1 like I laid out. That means if some of these numbers are off and you could trade him before the draft, I'm open to that. I'm open to taking a quarterback and, hanging on to Matt Stafford and doing that transition plan. But I've kind of reached a point where I feel like the best situation is to just find a way to move him to another team and let the new quarterback, if he shows out and you feel good about him, to just put him in the saddle, let him take his lumps, let him excite the franchise, the city, and roll. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot of people out there that want to stay status quo, want to say, everything's been wrong except Matt Stafford. The only reason we haven't won is because the run game, the O-line, the defense, the tight ends, just everything, right? The coaching, the all the things that were wrong except for him. And it's like, I think he's a good piece. Don't get me wrong. If Matt Stafford was like our third best player and our highest paid player because he's a quarterback, I wouldn't have an issue. But when he's consistently the best player, but he's not even in like the top 10 of my quarterbacks across the league, it just doesn't work out. Yes, he's the best player on the Lions. Yes, he's the best player we've had at quarterback in my lifetime, basically. But I just kind of feel like it's time to move on. Now, if the new GM, which he probably will come in and say, I love Matt Stafford, we can win with Matt Stafford, he's a great quarterback, he's under contract a couple years, and they just roll with him, I mean, I'm going to just roll with it too, because I got a bunch of Matt Stafford jerseys in the closet. I know what he can do. I'm hopeful they can build the rest of the team around him. We can roll. But I'm not going to be as fired up about it as if they make some trade, get a future first, third round pick, get a player, get this new quarterback in, Zach Wilson or whoever, and just start slinging the ball, running a new offense, having a bunch of mojo where they're out there dabbing it up and high-fiving and dancing in the ends, all the stuff that we'll never see with number 9 at the helm. And it's just going to be the same old, and I wouldn't have said this 5 years ago. I wouldn't have said this 3 years ago. Damn sure wouldn't have said it like 8 years ago, where he seemed like the new, young, exciting, fun quarterback that was putting up crazy numbers. But hey, this is year 12 plus, and I've seen what I've seen. I know what I know. He's going to be good, not great. You can move on from him. That would be fine. If he goes and wins, and even wins the Super Bowl, hey man, I'll be applauding him, happy for him. Comes back and beats the Lions in a game, hey, no big deal, tip your cap. But I feel like moving on is the best thing, and I know a lot of people don't want to do that and aren't going to go that route, and the new GM and head coach might not go that route. That's okay. Like I said, I could see the other side as well. If you really do, put another piece on offense and focus on that defense and put 9 back there for the next 2 years, yeah, that might get you the best results right now. But I don't know if that's the best for the next 10 years to kind of just keep rolling with them. But like I say, great guy. Lots to talk about. I could probably go on for a bunch longer, but I do want to finish up with some draft talk, and we will do that as soon as I can find the music, because you know what it is. Oh, there it is. The NFL draft music. You gotta have that when we're talking draft. Let me pull that down a little bit so I can give you some of my top prospects to know. And you know what it is. We're talking NFL draft with the Detroit Lions. These are the names you need to know in no particular order, but these are the names you'll hear with that 7th overall pick, as well as some of their other selections. The first name I have here is Micah Parsons from Penn State. This guy is a freak athlete. Everybody knows the Lions need not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6. We need maybe, a whole boatload of linebackers. So if you could start with Micah Parsons there, that's a good place to start. Absolute great football player. I don't like taking linebackers that high, but if he's the best player on the board and a position of need, and they feel like it's a slam dunk player, I would be fine with it. Jamar Chase, wide receiver, LSU, sat out this year, is my next guy that I wrote down. Jamar Chase, the ball player, man. Like, I've got him ranked ahead of Devontae Smith. Smith, that's with 3 Fs. I know everybody loves Devontae Smith. I mean, I'm recording before the Heisman, so everyone's saying he's going to win the Heisman. I mean, I know Trevor Lawrence didn't have a great year, but isn't he the Heisman just because he's Trevor Lawrence? I mean, really? But Jamar Chase would be great to add to the Lions and do some things there. Let me pull this music down just a little bit more. You guys don't miss any of this content here. We'll have it in the background there. And Zach Wilson's my next guy, quarterback, BYU. To me, I've watched him a handful of times now. There hasn't been a game where he wasn't making great throws all over the field, seemed poised, exciting, rocking the Jumpman bandana like I've said in the past, which I love. Seems like a face of the franchise type guy. Not the biggest guy, not the most prototypical maybe, but that's what I want. I want a new age quarterback. I want a guy with swag, ability, leadership, can still throw it, throw off platform, run some of those boots and different plays that you draw up in the sand. That's kind of what I want, rather than that old style quarterback that worked 10, 20 years ago. So Zach Wilson, really excited about. Don't know if he'll be on the board now that he's getting all this hype. Justin Fields is sitting there at 7. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, right? Justin Fields to me is a guy that, I mean, he balled out here in the college football championship. He's a guy that he seems to have a great skill set for the new NFL. So, I mean, if the Lions liked him, I could definitely bring him in as my future quarterback, no doubt about it. If the draft value is right and he's sitting there, which he may be, between him and Zach Wilson, who goes up in that top 2 or 3, and then if one of them slides, they'll probably be there for the Lions. So check that out. The other guy I wrote down, again, quarterbacks are king, so I put them, top here. Trey Lance, he hasn't been getting a lot of buzz. There's not much being said about him, but this is still a guy. He might need some seasoning. Trey Lance, to me, is the guy you could take and then sort of, you could just kind of, if you take Trey Lance, I'd kind of be cool with them riding out Stafford's contract, or at least playing him in 2021 and letting Trey Lance get his feet under him and kind of learn. And then if you think it's close, you roll with Trey Lance in 2022. If you think he's just not there yet, you kind of still let Stafford play out that final year, and then he's really going to be ready to roll. But you just don't groom people for a year or two now in the NFL. It just doesn't happen. So I could just see a half a year, maybe trade Stafford at the deadline next year, or trade him after the year once he gets Trey Lance up to speed. But Trey Lance got a ton of tools, make all the throws. He's a big-bodied guy, can run it too. So you just got to look at these quarterbacks, no matter, even if you love Matt Stafford with all your heart and soul. You got to look at these QBs, because QBs are worth millions of dollars, both in the draft and when it comes to their contracts. So very important. Devontae Smith, I mentioned him earlier. Smithy to me is a guy that, had an amazing college year. He's still a little bit slight. I think people compared him to Marvin Harrison. I did like that comparison. I do think he's got some of those tendencies, and I wouldn't hate it. I mean, I'm not a big, receiver in that top 7 type of guy, but Chase or Devontae Smith are there, and they feel like that's the thing that'll get that offense rolling, Stafford or not. I mean, I'd be fine with it. Same with the next guy on my list, Waddle from Alabama as well. This guy's got crazy juice. The Lions haven't had a speed burner in a long time. You'd be able to take the top off the defense. This guy can get up to speed in a couple steps. I mean, really dynamic player. If he plays in the championship game, I could see him making some big-time plays and getting on people's radar pretty quick. Surtain, the cornerback. I have Surtain and Farley here together because I'm not turning my back on corners. I know people are like, oh, we got AO, we got Okuda, we got Trufant, we're good. No, we're not good. As you could see this year, we still can't cover. So Surtain, Farley, 2 guys I would not pass up on if the draft value is right. Maybe a trade down, maybe just want to solidify your defensive backfield. Go take one of those guys and play one of them with Okuda and put AO in a 3-4 type situation along with Justin Coleman. Okay. Now we've had a better cornerbacks than we've ever had in the past, but it's a lot, at that position to take them 2 years in a row. But hey, passing league, that might be what you need to do to get this passing defense right, which is just horrible this past year. And a lot of my time as a Lions fan, we can't cover a coffee table, as Griffith would say. A couple more names here. Kyle Pitts from Florida. Yeah, I know you're saying tight end. You can't go tight end. We can't, who wants a tight end again? Hey, you guys watch Kyle Pitts? Dude's an absolute monster, beast, playmaker. Am I saying take him at 7? No, but I'm saying if you were to trade down in the middle of the first round, he's there. Team him up with Hawkinson and have Hunter Bryant as your third tight end. Now you're making that not only a great strength on the team, but you're stressing out defenses and you're really doing some great things at that position. Now, if Hawkinson goes down, who's behind him? The stiff named Jesse James and a guy that's made 1 or 2 plays in the league, and Hunter Bryant. That's not depth at the tight end position. That's not a great setup. You want to have another guy, and Pitts would be an absolute luxury. But like I said, if you move down once or twice, and he seems to be the BPA, the best player available, snag him up, run some 2 tight end sets, and stress him out and go that way. It's a possibility. I don't close my options at all when it comes to the draft. Gregory Rousseau from the U, as Benny Blades would say, he said the Lions can't win without somebody from the University of Miami. So, if Benny Blades says that, I'm buying in, I'm listening to it. But Rousseau is a big defensive end, a guy I think that could really help the Lions. And Penny Sewell, the big offensive tackle. I know we signed Taylor Decker up. I really don't like taking a stud tackle and trying to move him to the right side. Usually you do that with guys in the mid rounds, or a guy that's maybe a run guy, better in the run game than pass. You move him over to the right side and get that figured out. But hey, Penny Sewell, if he's really good, I'm sure you could figure that out with 2 bookend tackles, make that work somehow or the other. But let's just go through the positions real quick to kind of end the show. Again, not any real particular order, but this is kind of how it would flow for me. Defensive end, rush guy, linebacker, wide receiver. I put quarterback here 4th, but that's just assuming that the new regime is going to take the safe route and sort of go Stafford for at least a year. But I move quarterback up to number 1 just because of how important the position is. Cornerback, you could use another one, as I already stated. Safety, I still am holding out hopes for Tracy Walker, Will Harris, but I can't hold out too much hope because they haven't really played that well, and it's year 3, for Walker, and multiple years now for, I think Walker be going to year 4 or whatever, but just another dynamic safety, run, hit, tackle, make plays on the football. I think we could use offensive tackle. Like I said, I know a lot of people like Crosby and they want to just leave him over at the right side, but I think that I'd be willing to invest in an offensive tackle in the first rounds 1 through 4, maybe look for a good value and get a tackle that's dominant on the right side, and then you'd have 4 really good football players in your offensive line, then you could just plug in the other guard and probably get by without a problem. That's something I'd consider. Running back, the Lions have DeAndre Swift and Adrian Peterson. Played decent this year, but not great until the end. He showed some things. I mean, Kerryon Johnson to me is just an absolute washout at this point. I don't know what he has in the tank, if anything. So, I mean, gosh, be looking at these running backs in rounds 3, 4, 5. You could probably get a great value there after you filled some other holes, and might be a good option. I already talked about tight end. Don't write it off, people. You need depth there, and you need another playmaker if it makes sense. And interior defensive line, getting some pass rush. We already got some run stuffers, Pennicini, Shelton, whatever it may be. But you could use the interior defensive lineman to plug it up and rush it there. So there it is, everybody. We talked about rumors. You heard a rant from me about the ridiculous refereeing that just absolutely astonishes me in every Detroit Lions game. We ran through Matt Stafford top to bottom, talked all about the quarterback. I'm probably going to do that on some other shows, especially when I go solo, is just pick out a player and just go through it, 4 or 5 different segments about him, his history, his past, contract, future, all that type of stuff, and break them down. And it, as Benny Blades and people from the U would say, that I'm going to be talking draft all day, every day, whenever I can. I'm just starting to get into my research. I'm putting out mock drafts, trying to do those every Monday, hashtag mock draft Monday, and just absolutely love that. Getting the draft room ready. Can't wait for the new regime, the draft, all that stuff, to get this team put back together so we can actually win some football games. So appreciate everybody. Thank you guys so much for listening. We know you like to drink that Detroit Kool-Aid.
Drink it in, man.
Twice a week. Appreciate you listening. Everybody, check out Friday. Griffco bringing you a show Friday. I'll be taking care of some other things. So everybody, you take care. Have a good week. Drink it in.
Drink it in. Drink it in. Drink it in, man.
Take care, everybody. I'm out.
Pack the bag. Start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in.